Welcome, settle in, get comfortable, and let yourself relax as we journey back to 2008, to the beginning of something extraordinary. Close your eyes if you'd like, and let's drift back to where it all started, the making of Iron Man. Our story begins not in a gleaming tower or a high-tech laboratory, but in a place of uncertainty and risk. In the mid-2000s, Marvel Studios was taking its first independent steps, preparing to finance and produce its very first film entirely on its own. Fact 1. Iron Man was Marvel Studios' first self-financed movie, with a production budget estimated between $140 and $186 million. Everything was riding on this one film. If it failed, there would be no Marvel Cinematic Universe, no Avengers, no interconnected saga spanning decades. Just this one film, and a dream. To bring this dream to life, Marvel chose a director who understood both spectacle and heart. Jon Favreau, known for his work on films like Elf, stepped into the director's chair with a vision. He wanted to create something different from the typical superhero origin story. Fact 2. Favreau deliberately rejected the East Coast setting of the original comics, choosing instead to film almost entirely in California. This decision would give Iron Man its own distinct identity, separating it from the New York-centric stories that dominated the superhero genre. And there was something poetic about where they chose to film. Fact 3, production was based in the former Hughes Company soundstages in Playa Vista, Los Angeles. These weren't just any soundstages, they once belonged to Howard Hughes, the legendary aviator, engineer, and industrialist who had directly inspired the character of Tony Stark. Walking through those same halls where Hughes once worked, the cast and crew were literally following in the footsteps of the man who inspired their story. The cave set, where Tony Stark would build his first armor, was constructed right there in those historic sound stages. But perhaps the most remarkable aspect of this production was something that would seem almost reckless, almost impossible. Fact 4. When Iron Man began filming in March 2007, the script was not completely finished. There was an outline, a structure, a vision. But many scenes existed only as concepts, waiting to be brought to life. This wasn't a mistake or poor planning, it was a creative choice that would define the entire film. This unusual approach required a very special kind of actor in the lead role, and Marvel found him in someone whose own life story mirrored Tony Stark's journey of redemption. Fact 5. Robert Downey Jr., who had faced his own personal struggles and comeback, embraced the unfinished script as an opportunity. He and director Jon Favreau would arrive on set each day and improvise scenes using only a general outline. Co-star Jeff Bridges later described how Downey and Favreau would ad-lib the day's scenes, creating dialogue in the moment, responding to each other with spontaneous creativity. This improvisation wasn't just limited to casual conversations. Fact 6. Some scenes were shot with 2 cameras simultaneously, specifically to capture the improvised lines that Downey would create on the spot. He would ask for multiple takes of the same scene, not because something was wrong, but because he wanted to explore different possibilities, different rhythms, different ways Tony Stark might speak or react. The other actors had to stay alert, ready to adapt to whatever Downey might say or do. Surrounding Downey was a carefully chosen ensemble cast. Fact 7. Gwyneth Paltrow was cast as Pepper Potts, bringing warmth and groundedness to Tony Stark's world. Terrence Howard joined as James Rhodes, Tony's best friend and military liaison. And in a stroke of inspired casting, Jeff Bridges took on the role of Obadiah Stane, Tony's mentor turned villain. Bridges, with his laid-back demeanor off-camera, would later admit that the improvisational nature of the production was both exhilarating and occasionally nerve-wracking. The filming locations themselves became characters in the story. Fact 8. The production ranged across California, from the iconic Walt Disney Concert Hall in downtown Los Angeles, which stood in for various elegant locations, to the rugged Alabama hills near Lone Pine, California, which doubled for the Afghan desert. They filmed at Caesar's Palace, capturing the glamour of Tony Stark's world. And for Stark's clifftop mansion, they found the perfect location in Malibu, that symbol of California luxury and innovation. As the cameras rolled through those spring and summer months of 2007, from March through June, something magical was happening. Fact 9. The cast and crew were creating not just a film, but a new language for superhero storytelling. The improvisation, the California setting, the grounded performances, the blend of practical effects and emerging digital technology. All of it was coming together in ways that even they couldn't fully predict. They were building something in real time, much like Tony Stark building his armor in that cave, piece by piece, innovation by innovation. And so, the foundation was laid. In those historic sound stages where Howard Hughes once dreamed of the future, a new kind of hero was being born. A hero who would speak with a voice that felt real, spontaneous, alive. A hero whose story would launch 1,000 others. But creating Tony Stark's world required more than just performances and locations. It required bringing metal to life. And for this monumental task, the production turned to a legend. Fact 10. Stan Winston Studio, the legendary effects house behind the Terminator, Jurassic Park, and countless other iconic creatures and characters, was brought on board to build the physical Iron Man suits. Stan Winston himself, though battling illness during production, oversaw his team's work on what would become one of his final projects before his passing in June 2008, just weeks after Iron Man's release. The Winston team faced an extraordinary challenge. They needed to create suits that looked like they could actually function, that had weight and presence that an actor could wear and move in. Fact 11. The team built multiple versions of the Mark I suit, the crude, bulky armor Tony constructs in the cave. This wasn't just a costume to be worn in a few shots. The real Mark I suit that Winston's team created wound up performing over 80% of the Mark I shots in the final film. It was that convincing, that practical, that real. When you watch Tony Stark lumber through that cave in his first armor, you're watching a physical suit built by human hands, weighing down the stunt performer inside. But the Mark I was just the beginning. Fact 12. Stan Winston Studio also constructed practical versions of the sleek Mark III armor, the iconic red and gold suit that would become synonymous with Iron Man. These weren't full suits that could be worn entirely, but rather pieces: the helmet, the chest plate, the arm and leg sections. Each piece was meticulously crafted, painted, and detailed, so that when Robert Downey Jr. interacted with them, when he put on the helmet or touched the armor, it felt real, because it was real. Of course, not everything could be practical. For the flying sequences, the repulsor blasts, the full-body shots of Iron Man in action, the production needed digital magic. Fact 13. Industrial Light and Magic, George Lucas's legendary visual effects company, took on the task of creating the digital Iron Man. They worked in close collaboration with Stan Winston Studio, using detailed scans and photographs of the practical suits to ensure that the digital version matched perfectly. The goal was seamless integration. You should never be able to tell where the practical suit ended and the digital one began. As the armor took shape, so did the film's sonic identity. Jon Favreau knew that music would be crucial to establishing Tony Stark's world. Fact 14. Composer Ramin Djawadi was brought on to create the film's original score. Djawadi, who would later become famous for his work on Game of Thrones, crafted a sound that blended orchestral grandeur with electronic elements, mirroring the fusion of man and machine at the heart of the story. His main theme for Iron Man had a driving, heroic quality, but also an edge, a modernity that set it apart from traditional superhero scores. But Favreau wanted more than just an original score. He wanted rock and roll. He wanted the sound of rebellion and power. Fact 15, the film prominently featured classic rock tracks, most notably AC/DC's Back in Black, which became almost as iconic as the suit itself. The song plays as Tony Stark returns from captivity, stepping off a plane, and it perfectly captures his attitude: defiant, alive, unstoppable. Black Sabbath's Iron Man also appears, a knowing nod to the character's origins and the heavy metal aesthetic that surrounds him. These weren't just songs placed in the film, they became part of Iron Man's DNA. As production continued through those months in 2007, something else was happening behind the scenes, something that would change cinema history. The filmmakers were planning a surprise. Fact 16. After the credits rolled, audiences who stayed in their seats were treated to something unprecedented. A post-credits scene featuring Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury director of SHIELD. Jackson appears in Tony Stark's home and utters the words, "Mr. Stark, you've become part of a bigger universe. You just don't know it yet." This brief scene, lasting less than a minute, was the seed that would grow into the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe. It was a promise, a tease, a glimpse of something larger. What audiences didn't know was that this scene almost had a very different tone. Fact 17. Jon Favreau later revealed that Samuel L. Jackson actually shot an alternate, more explicit version of his Nick Fury introduction, one that included his signature profanity. The filmmakers wanted to capture Jackson's natural energy and style, even if they knew the more family-friendly version would be the one that made it to theaters. That alternate take exists somewhere in the Marvel archives, a reminder of the playful, experimental spirit that infused the entire production. As filming wrapped in June 2007, the massive task of post-production began. Visual effects needed to be completed, the score needed to be recorded and mixed. The improvised performances needed to be shaped into a coherent narrative. Fact 18. The editing process became another form of creative discovery. Editor Dan Lebenthal worked closely with Favreau to find the rhythm of the film, to balance the character moments with the action, to let Robert Downey Jr.'s improvised brilliance up. Through all of this, the practical suits, the digital effects, the improvised performances, the rock and roll soundtrack, the secret post-credits scene, a singular vision was emerging. This wasn't going to be a typical superhero film. This was going to be something that felt real, grounded, human, even as it featured a man in a flying suit of armor. It was going to be a film about second chances, about taking responsibility, about using your gifts to make the world better. But let's drift back to those days of filming, to the details that brought authenticity to every frame. Jon Favreau wanted military realism, and he knew exactly where to find it. Fact 19. The production received full cooperation from the United States Air Force. Filming at Edwards Air Force Base in California, real Air Force personnel appeared in the film, real aircraft were used in scenes, and the military provided technical advisors to ensure accuracy. When you see F-22 Raptors in the sky, when you see the military protocols and procedures, you're watching the real thing, woven seamlessly into fiction. The desert sequences required their own special touch. While some of the Afghan scenes were filmed in the Alabama hills near Lone Pine, other portions were shot closer to Edwards Air Force Base. Fact 20. The production used locations around Bakersfield, California, transforming the arid landscape into war-torn Afghanistan. The crew worked in intense heat, building the cave set pieces on location, creating the illusion of a remote terrorist compound in the California desert. The authenticity of these locations, the real sand, the real heat, the real vastness, gave the actors something tangible to react to, grounding even the most fantastical elements of the story. Meanwhile, Robert Downey Jr. was doing something remarkable with his performance. He wasn't just playing Tony Stark, he was becoming him. Fact 21. Downey brought elements of his own personality and experiences into the role, blurring the line between actor and character. His quick wit, his improvisational genius, his understanding of redemption and second chances, all of it poured into Tony Stark. He worked with Jon Favreau to develop Stark's mannerisms, his speech patterns, the way he moved through space with confidence and charm. It was a performance built on spontaneity, but grounded in deep character work. Even the smallest details mattered. The filmmakers wanted Tony Stark to drive a car that reflected his personality, sleek, powerful, cutting edge. Fact 22. The production partnered with Audi, and Tony Stark's personal vehicle became the Audi R8, a supercar that had only recently been released. The R8 became almost as iconic as the Iron Man suit itself, appearing throughout the film as an extension of Stark's character. It was sporty, classy, and matched his personality perfectly. A vehicle that said everything about who Tony Stark was without a single word of dialogue. Jeff Bridges, meanwhile, was undergoing his own transformation. To play Obadiah Stane, Tony's mentor-turned-villain, Bridges needed to look different from his usual laid-back, long-haired persona. Fact 23. Jeff Bridges completely shaved his head for the role of Obadiah Stane. He later described the experience with enthusiasm, talking about how shaving his head gave him what he called the shark skin effect, a sleek, predatory look that perfectly suited the character. He also grew out his beard, creating a distinctive appearance that made Stane feel both familiar and threatening. Bridges embraced the physical transformation, understanding that sometimes the outside helps you find the inside of a character. As post-production continued through late 2007 and early 2008, the pressure mounted. Marvel had bet everything on this film. The release date was set, May 2nd, 2008. Fact 24. The choice of early May was strategic. It would kick off the summer movie season, giving Iron Man maximum visibility and the best chance to succeed. But it also meant there was no room for delays, no safety net. The visual effects had to be finished, the sound had to be mixed, the film had to be ready. Hundreds of artists at Industrial Light and Magic worked around the clock, rendering shots, perfecting the look of Iron Man in flight, making sure every frame was perfect. And then finally, the moment arrived. May 2nd, 2008. Iron Man opened in theaters across North America. The Marvel team held their breath. Would audiences embrace this character? Would they accept Robert Downey Jr. as a superhero? Would the gamble pay off? Fact 25. Iron Man exceeded all expectations, earning an estimated $98.6 million in its opening weekend, far beyond the predicted $70 to $80 million range. By the end of its opening weekend, the film had earned over $100 million domestically. Audiences didn't just like Iron Man, they loved it. They stayed through the credits, they talked about it, they came back to see it again. The success rippled outward. Fact 26. Marvel's stock price rose significantly following Iron Man's opening weekend success. The gamble had paid off. Marvel Studios had proven it could produce its own films, control its own destiny, and create something that resonated with audiences worldwide. Iron Man would go on to earn more than $500 million globally, but more importantly, it had proven a concept that Marvel could build a cinematic universe, one film at a time, one character at a time. And in those early days of May 2008, as audiences filed out of theaters buzzing with excitement, as they discussed that mysterious post-credits scene, as they wondered what a bigger universe might mean, the future was being written. The Marvel Cinematic Universe was born not in a boardroom or a script, but in the hearts of audiences who believed in a flawed hero in a metal suit, who laughed at his jokes, who felt his journey, who wanted more. But let's return to the heart of the film, the relationships that made it more than just spectacle. The connection between Tony Stark and Pepper Potts was crucial, and it needed to feel genuine, lived in, real. Fact 27. Robert Downey Jr. and Gwyneth Paltrow had a natural chemistry that Jon Favreau recognized immediately. The two actors had known each other for years, and their real-life friendship translated beautifully on screen. Favreau would actually take notes during their improvised banter between takes, capturing their natural rhythm and wit, then incorporating those moments into the film. The playful exchanges, the comfortable silences, the way they finished each other's sentences, much of it came from their genuine rapport. And then there was the film's most iconic moment, one that would change superhero cinema forever. The final press conference scene was scripted to end with Tony Stark denying he was Iron Man, maintaining a secret identity like traditional superheroes. But something different happened. Fact 28. Robert Downey Jr. improvised the line, "I am Iron Man," going completely off script during filming. He looked at the cue cards, looked at the cameras, and in that moment decided that Tony Stark, this character he'd come to know so intimately, would never lie about who he was. Kevin Feige, Marvel's president, was watching from the monitors and immediately recognized the brilliance of the moment. He fought to keep it in the film, and that single improvised line became the foundation for everything that followed in the MCU. The director himself made a special appearance in the film, though you might not have noticed him at first. Fact 29. Jon Favreau cast himself as Happy Hogan, Tony Stark's loyal bodyguard and driver. It was a small role in the first film, just a few scenes, but Favreau brought warmth and humor to the character. Happy was a former boxer, grounded and practical, a perfect counterpoint to Tony's genius and ego. Favreau's presence on screen also allowed him to be in scenes, to feel the energy, to understand what was working from an actor's perspective while still directing. One of the most crucial props in the entire film was also one of the smallest, the arc reactor that keeps Tony Stark alive and powers his suit. Fact 30. The production created multiple practical arc reactor props that actually glowed, using LED lights and carefully designed circuitry. When you see the blue glow emanating from Tony's chest, that's not just visual effects, it's a real physical prop that Robert Downey Jr. wore during filming. The prop department created versions that could be worn under clothing, versions that could be removed and handled, each one meticulously crafted to look like a functioning piece of technology. That tangible glow gave the actors something real to react to, made the arc reactor feel like a genuine part of Tony's body. Hidden within the film were seeds for future stories, Easter eggs that most audiences wouldn't notice on first viewing. Fact 31. The terrorist organization that captures Tony Stark is called the 10 Rings, a name that comic book fans recognized immediately as a reference to the Mandarin, one of Iron Man's greatest villains in the comics. The 10 Rings symbol appears throughout the film, on flags, on weapons, subtle but present. It was a promise, a hint that this world was bigger than just one film, that there were other threats lurking in the shadows. Years later, this would pay off in unexpected ways, connecting Iron Man to stories that wouldn't be told for over a decade. The film's visual effects required innovations that would influence action cinema for years to come. Fact 32. Industrial Light and Magic developed new techniques for rendering reflective metal surfaces in motion, creating software that could accurately show how light would bounce off Iron Man's armor as he flew through the sky. Every reflection, every gleam, every subtle shift in color as the suit moved through different lighting conditions. All of it required new tools, new approaches. The ILM team worked closely with the cinematographer to match the digital Iron Man to the lighting conditions of each scene, ensuring seamless integration between practical and digital elements. As the film neared completion, the marketing campaign began to build momentum. The trailers showcased the suit, the action, the humor, but they carefully preserved the film's surprises. Fact 33. The marketing deliberately avoided showing too much of the final battle between Iron Man and Ironmonger, Obadiah Stane's massive armored suit. They wanted audiences to experience that confrontation fresh, to feel the scale and power of two titans clashing. The restraint paid off. Audiences gasped when Ironmonger first appeared in all his terrifying glory. A hulking monster of metal that made even Iron Man look small. And through all of this, the improvisation, the practical effects, the hidden Easter eggs, the technological innovations, there was a singular vision holding everything together. Jon Favreau's vision of a superhero film that felt grounded, human, real. A film where the hero wasn't perfect, where he made mistakes, where he had to learn and grow. A film where the suit was impressive, but the man inside the suit was what truly mattered. Let's drift back to the beginning of Tony's journey, to those crucial cave scenes that set everything in motion. The cave wasn't just a location, it was a crucible where Tony Stark would be transformed. Fact 35. The cave set was built on the sound stages at Playa Vista, meticulously designed to feel claustrophobic and oppressive. The production team created a space that was hot, cramped, and uncomfortable, not just for the characters, but for the actors and crew as well. This wasn't a comfortable movie set. It was designed to make everyone feel the weight of captivity, the desperation of the situation. When you see sweat on Robert Downey Jr.'s face, much of it was real, the result of working under hot lights in a confined space. In that cave, Tony Stark had a companion, a fellow prisoner who would change his life forever. Dr. Ho Yinsen, played by actor Sean Toob, was the moral heart of the film's opening act. Fact 36. Sean Toob brought incredible depth and warmth to the role of Yinsen, creating a character who was wise, compassionate, and ultimately self-sacrificing. Toob worked closely with the filmmakers to ensure Yinsen felt authentic, that his relationship with Tony felt genuine. The scenes between Toob and Downey Jr. were some of the most emotionally resonant in the film, particularly Yinsen's final moments when he tells Tony, "Don't waste your life." That line, delivered with quiet power, became the emotional foundation for Tony Stark's entire arc, not just in this film, but throughout the entire MCU. Behind the scenes, there were casting decisions that would later become complicated. Fact 37. Terrence Howard was cast as James Rhodey Rhodes, Tony Stark's best friend and military liaison. Howard was actually the highest-paid actor in the first Iron Man film, earning more than Robert Downey Jr., who was still considered a risk at the time. Howard brought charisma and gravitas to the role, establishing Rhodey as Tony's conscience and connection to the military world. However, when it came time for Iron Man 2, contract negotiations broke down, and Howard would not return to the role, a decision that would lead to Don Cheadle taking over as Rhodey in all subsequent films. As the film came together in post-production, the team faced a crucial test. Fact 38. Kevin Feige, Marvel Studios' president, has spoken about how much he dreads test screenings, calling them horrible experiences, yet acknowledging how vital they are. For Iron Man, the test screenings were nerve-wracking. This was Marvel's entire future riding on audience reactions. Would they connect with Tony Stark? Would they believe in this world? The early test screening responses were overwhelmingly positive, with audiences particularly loving Robert Downey Jr.'s performance and the film's humor. But Feige and the team still worried. Would it be enough? Would people actually buy tickets? The film's visual language was carefully crafted to feel both realistic and spectacular. Fact 39. Cinematographer Matthew Libatique, known for his work with director Darren Aronofsky, brought a grounded, almost documentary-like quality to many scenes. He used handheld cameras for intimate moments, giving them an immediacy and authenticity. But for the action sequences, he shifted to more dynamic, sweeping camera movements that captured the power and grace of Iron Man in flight. This contrast, intimate and human one moment, epic and superheroic the next, became part of the film's signature style. The sound design played an equally crucial role in bringing Iron Man to life. Fact 40. The sound team created unique audio signatures for every aspect of the suit. The whir of servos as it moved, the distinctive repulsor blast sound, the mechanical clicks and whirs as pieces locked into place. These weren't just random mechanical sounds. Each one was carefully designed to feel powerful yet precise, technological yet organic. The repulsor blast sound, in particular, went through dozens of iterations before they found the perfect combination of bass, treble, and resonance that felt both futuristic and visceral. As May 2008 approached, the marketing campaign reached its crescendo. Billboards appeared in major cities. Trailers played in theaters and on television. Fact 41. The marketing team made a strategic decision to emphasize Robert Downey Jr.'s star power and the film's humor, positioning Iron Man as different from the darker, more serious superhero films that had dominated the genre. They wanted audiences to know this would be fun, exciting, and character-driven. The trailers featured Downey's quick wit, the spectacular action, and just enough of the origin story to intrigue without spoiling. And then, in those final days before release, there was one more element that needed to be perfected: the music mix. Fact 42. Ramin Djawadi's score was recorded with a full orchestra, then mixed with electronic elements in post-production. The final sound mix took weeks, balancing dialogue, music, sound effects, and ambient noise to create an immersive audio experience. Every explosion, every line of dialogue, every note of music was carefully placed in the sonic landscape. When Iron Man finally flew through the sky, audiences would hear it in every dimension: the rush of wind, the roar of repulsors, the triumphant swell of music, all working together to create pure cinematic magic. And so, as April turned to May in 2008, as the final prints of the film were shipped to theaters around the world, as the cast and crew prepared for premieres and press tours, there was a sense of anticipation mixed with uncertainty. They had created something special, something different. But would the world agree? In just days, they would have their answer. The world premiere arrived with all the glamour and excitement befitting a potential blockbuster. Fact 43. Iron Man held its world premiere in late April 2008, with the red carpet rolled out in Hollywood. Robert Downey Jr., Gwyneth Paltrow, Terrence Howard, and Jon Favreau walked the carpet, greeting fans and press. The energy was electric, hopeful, but still uncertain. This was Marvel's first independent film, and everything depended on how audiences would respond. The cast smiled for cameras, signed autographs, and tried to project confidence while privately wondering if all their hard work would pay off. When critics finally saw the film, their reactions surprised even the most optimistic members of the Marvel team. Fact 44. Iron Man received overwhelmingly positive reviews, eventually earning a 93% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes based on hundreds of reviews. Critics praised the film's wit, its grounded approach to superhero storytelling, and especially Robert Downey Jr.'s performance. Even legendary film critic Roger Ebert, known for his thoughtful and sometimes skeptical approach to blockbusters, gave Iron Man 4 stars out of 4, calling Downey's performance intriguing and unexpected, noting that he lacks the psychic weight and gravitas of typical superheroes, and meaning it as a compliment. One of the most memorable aspects of the film was Tony Stark's workshop, his creative sanctuary filled with tools, cars, and technology. Fact 45. The workshop set was meticulously designed and built as a practical location, filled with real tools, actual car lifts, functioning computer screens, and countless props that made it feel like a genuine workspace. The production design team spent weeks sourcing authentic equipment, vintage cars, and high-tech gadgets to populate the space. When Robert Downey Jr. walked through that workshop, he was surrounded by tangible objects he could touch, manipulate, and interact with. This attention to detail made the space feel lived in and real, a place where genius actually happened. And in that workshop, Tony had a companion, not human, but artificial. Fact 46. Jarvis, Tony Stark's AI assistant, was voiced by British actor Paul Bettany, who would later play Vision in subsequent MCU films. What's remarkable is that Bettany recorded all of his Jarvis dialogue in just 30 minutes in a recording studio. He later admitted that he'd actually forgotten he'd done the voice work for Iron Man because the session was so brief. Yet his calm, sophisticated British accent became the perfect counterpoint to Tony's frenetic American energy, creating a dynamic that would define their relationship throughout multiple films. The film's pacing was carefully calibrated to balance character development with spectacle. Fact 47. Jon Favreau made a deliberate choice to spend significant time on Tony's origin story, showing his transformation from weapons manufacturer to hero. Nearly half the film takes place before Tony even completes the Mark III armor. This patience, this willingness to let the character breathe and develop, was unusual for a superhero film, but it paid off. Audiences connected with Tony's journey because they understood where he came from, what he'd lost, and what he was trying to become. The final battle between Iron Man and Ironmonger required a delicate balance of practical and digital effects. Fact 48. The climactic fight on the streets and rooftops was filmed using a combination of real stunt performers in partial suits, digital doubles, and carefully choreographed action. The production built sections of the arc reactor facility as practical sets, allowing the actors to interact with real environments. When Iron Man and Ironmonger crashed through structures, some of those impacts were real, with stunt performers in harnesses and practical debris. The digital effects were then layered on top, enhancing but not replacing the physical action. As the film's release approached, there was one more element that needed perfecting: the color grading and final visual polish. Fact 49. The colorist worked to create a distinctive look for the film, with warm golden tones for Tony's workshop and Malibu mansion, cooler blues for the military and corporate scenes, and harsh, desaturated colors for the Afghanistan sequences. This color palette wasn't just aesthetic, it was emotional storytelling, using color to guide the audience's feelings about each location and moment. The warm glow of Tony's workshop made it feel like home, a place of creativity and safety. And then finally, after months of post-production, after countless hours of rendering, mixing, and refining, the film was complete. Fact 50. The final cut of Iron Man ran approximately 126 minutes, just over 2 hours, a length that felt perfectly balanced. Not too long to exhaust audiences, but long enough to tell a complete, satisfying story. Every scene earned its place, every moment served the narrative. From the opening in Afghanistan to the final "I am Iron Man" declaration, the film moved with purpose and energy, never dragging, never rushing, finding that perfect rhythm that great films possess. As May 2nd, 2008 dawned, as theaters across America prepared for their first screenings, as audiences began lining up for tickets, the Marvel team could only wait. They had done everything they could. They had taken risks, trusted their instincts, believed in their vision. Now, it was time to see if the world would believe too. The film's success in North America was just the beginning. As Iron Man rolled out internationally throughout May and June of 2008, it became clear this was a global phenomenon. Fact 51. Iron Man earned $319 million in the United States and Canada, and an additional $266.8 million in international markets, bringing its worldwide total to $585.8 million. In markets across Europe, Asia, and beyond, audiences responded to Tony Stark's story with the same enthusiasm as American viewers. The film's themes of redemption, responsibility, and using technology for good transcended cultural boundaries. But even as the film celebrated its success, there was a bittersweet note. Just weeks after Iron Man's release, the industry lost one of its greatest artists. Fact 52. Stan Winston, the legendary effects creator whose team had built the physical Iron Man suits, passed away on June 15, 2008, at the age of 62 after a 7-year battle with multiple myeloma. Iron Man would be one of his final projects, a fitting capstone to a career that had transformed cinema. The film was dedicated to his memory, and his legacy lived on in every frame where the practical suits appeared, in every detail his team had so lovingly crafted. On set, Robert Downey Jr. had brought an intensity and commitment that went beyond typical film acting. Fact 53. While Downey didn't employ traditional method acting techniques like staying in character between takes, he did something perhaps more remarkable. He allowed the line between himself and Tony Stark to blur almost completely. His own experiences with redemption, his quick wit, his improvisational brilliance, his understanding of what it meant to rebuild your life, all of it became inseparable from the character. Cast and crew often remarked that watching Downey work was like watching Tony Stark himself walk onto set. In Tony's workshop, there were other characters beyond the human ones, mechanical companions that added both humor and heart. Fact 54. Dumb E, the somewhat clumsy robotic arm that Tony frequently scolds and interacts with, was actually a functional prop built for the production. According to the film's backstory, Tony had created Dumb E during his college years, and the robot had been his loyal, if occasionally frustrating, assistant ever since. The production team programmed the robotic arm to perform specific movements, allowing Robert Downey Jr. to genuinely interact with it. The relationship between Tony and Dumb E, affectionate yet exasperated, added warmth and humor to the workshop scenes, showing Tony's capacity for attachment even to machines. The film's editing rhythm was crucial to its success, particularly in balancing multiple tones. Fact 55. Editor Dan Lebenthal worked closely with Jon Favreau to create a pace that could shift seamlessly from intense action to quiet character moments to sharp comedy, sometimes within the same scene. The editing allowed Robert Downey Jr.'s improvisations to breathe, giving his jokes and observations room to land, while also maintaining momentum during action sequences. This careful balance meant audiences never felt whiplash between tones. The humor enhanced the drama, and the drama made the humor more meaningful. The film's costume design extended beyond just the Iron Man suits. Fact 56. Costume designer Alexandra Byrne, who would go on to work on multiple MCU films, carefully crafted Tony Stark's wardrobe to reflect his personality and journey. His clothes were expensive but casual. Designer t-shirts under tailored jackets, perfectly fitted jeans, luxury watches. Everything about his appearance said, "genius billionaire," without being ostentatious. The costumes helped establish Tony as someone who had money but didn't need to prove it, someone comfortable in his own skin, even as he was transforming who he was inside. As summer 2008 progressed and Iron Man continued to dominate box offices, the film industry took notice. Fact 57. Iron Man's success fundamentally changed Hollywood's perception of superhero films and shared universes. Studios began looking at their own intellectual property differently, wondering if they too could build interconnected franchises. The post-credits scene with Nick Fury had planted a seed, and now everyone wanted to know. What was Marvel planning next? The answer would come soon enough, but for now, Iron Man stood alone. A perfect self-contained story that also promised something larger. Behind the scenes, the success created new challenges and opportunities. Fact 58. The overwhelming positive response to Iron Man immediately put pressure on Marvel Studios to deliver a sequel, to expand the universe, to capitalize on the momentum. Kevin Feige and his team were already planning The Incredible Hulk, which would release just weeks after Iron Man, and looking ahead to Thor, Captain America, and eventually, the Avengers. But they knew they had to be careful. The success of Iron Man came from taking risks, from trusting creative voices, from not playing it safe. They would need to maintain that spirit even as the stakes grew higher. And so, as the summer of 2008 unfolded, as audiences around the world discovered Tony Stark's story, as the film's influence began to ripple through popular culture, something remarkable had happened. A character who had been considered a B-list superhero, a risky casting choice, an unfinished script, a massive financial gamble, all of it had come together to create something that felt inevitable, perfect, like it had always been meant to be this way. Let's drift back to the actual filming period, those intense months when the vision became reality. Fact 59. Principal photography on Iron Man began on March 12, 2007, and wrapped on June 25, 2007. A relatively tight shooting schedule of just over 3 months for such an ambitious film. Every day counted, every scene had to be carefully planned, even as they were being improvised. The crew worked long hours across multiple locations, from the sound stages in Playa Vista to the desert locations, from downtown Los Angeles to Malibu, capturing all the pieces that would eventually form the complete picture. For director Jon Favreau, this was uncharted territory in many ways. Fact 60. Iron Man was Favreau's first superhero film, and his first time working with visual effects on this massive scale. He had directed successful films like Elf and Zathura, but nothing that required this level of technical complexity. Favreau later spoke about the learning curve, about trusting his visual effects team while also maintaining his creative vision. He had to imagine what scenes would look like with digital Iron Man suits that didn't exist yet. Had to direct actors reacting to threats that were just tennis balls on sticks. It was a leap of faith, but Favreau's background as an actor helped him understand how to guide performances, even in the most technical circumstances. One character who would become unexpectedly important to the MCU made his quiet debut in this film. Fact 61. Clark Gregg was cast as Agent Phil Coulson, a SHIELD agent who appears several times throughout the film. The character wasn't in the original comics. He was created specifically for the movie. Gregg brought a dry, understated humor to the role, playing Coulson as competent, professional, and slightly bemused by the chaos surrounding Tony Stark. No one could have predicted that this seemingly minor character would become a fan favorite, eventually starring in his own television series, Agents of SHIELD, and appearing throughout the MCU. As Iron Man dominated the summer box office, Marvel had another film waiting in the wings. Fact 62. The Incredible Hulk, starring Edward Norton, was released just 5 weeks after Iron Man on June 13, 2008. While it was also produced by Marvel Studios, it had a very different tone, darker, more serious, more traditionally action-oriented. The film included a post-credits scene featuring Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark, meeting with General Ross to discuss putting a team together. This brief cameo was the first true crossover moment in the MCU, proof that these films existed in the same universe, and that something larger was being built. The relationship between these two films was carefully orchestrated. Fact 63. According to the official MCU timeline, the events of Iron Man and the Incredible Hulk actually overlap chronologically, with both taking place around the same time period in 2008-2009. This meant that while Tony Stark was building his suits and becoming Iron Man, Bruce Banner was on the run, trying to cure himself of the Hulk. Two very different heroes, two very different journeys, happening simultaneously in the same world. It was an ambitious narrative structure that would become a hallmark of the MCU. Back on the Iron Man set during production, the atmosphere was one of creative excitement mixed with pressure. Fact 64. The cast and crew knew they were attempting something unprecedented, a self-financed superhero film with an unconventional lead and an unfinished script. But rather than being paralyzed by the pressure, they were energized by it. Robert Downey Jr. would often gather the cast between takes, improvising scenes and building chemistry. Jon Favreau encouraged experimentation, knowing that some of the best moments would come from spontaneity, rather than rigid adherence to a script that didn't fully exist yet. The film's production design extended to every detail of Tony Stark's world. Fact 65. Production designer J. Michael Reva, who had worked on films ranging from The Goonies to The Aviator, created a visual aesthetic that blended cutting-edge technology with classic design. Tony's Malibu mansion featured clean lines and floor-to-ceiling windows, suggesting both wealth and openness. His workshop was cluttered but organized, a space where creativity happened. Even the smallest props, the glasses Tony wore, the coffee cups in his kitchen, the cars in his garage, were carefully chosen to reflect his character and status. And then there was the question of how to end the film, how to leave audiences satisfied, yet wanting more. Fact 66. The decision to have Tony Stark publicly reveal his identity as Iron Man in the final scene was revolutionary for superhero films. Every major superhero film before it, Spider-Man, Batman, Superman, had centered on the tension of maintaining a secret identity. But Tony Stark, in that moment of improvised brilliance, threw away the playbook. "I am Iron Man" wasn't just a line. It was a statement of intent, both for the character and for the MCU itself. This universe would do things differently, would take risks, would surprise audiences. As the summer of 2008 continued, as both Iron Man and The Incredible Hulk played in theaters, as fans began to speculate about what putting a team together might mean, the foundation was set. Fact 67. Marvel Studios had proven they could succeed on their own terms, without needing another studio to finance or distribute their films. They had creative control, they had a vision, and most importantly, they had audiences who believed in that vision. The gamble had paid off beyond anyone's wildest expectations, and now the real work could begin. Building a universe, one film at a time, one hero at a time. The visual effects work on Iron Man represented a quantum leap in digital filmmaking. Fact 68. Industrial Light and Magic created over 450 visual effects shots for the film, developing new rendering techniques specifically for Iron Man's reflective armor. The challenge wasn't just making the suit look real, it was making it look real in every lighting condition, every environment, every angle. The ILM team built sophisticated shaders that could accurately simulate how light would bounce off curved metal surfaces, how reflections would distort across the armor's contours, how the red and gold paint would catch sunlight differently than shadow. Each frame required hours of rendering time on powerful computers. One of the film's most memorable sequences required a delicate balance of humor and vulnerability. Fact 69. The scene where Pepper Potts helps Tony replace his arc reactor, reaching into his chest cavity to swap out the glowing device, was both intimate and slightly grotesque. Gwyneth Paltrow and Robert Downey Jr. improvised much of the dialogue, with Pepper's squeamishness and Tony's casual instructions creating a moment that was funny, touching, and revealing of their relationship. The practical arc reactor prop actually had wires and tubes attached to it, giving Paltrow something tangible to react to, making her discomfort feel genuine. The Mark II armor test flight sequence showcased the film's ability to blend spectacle with character. Fact 70. When Tony first flies in the silver Mark II suit, crashing through his workshop ceiling and nearly freezing at high altitude, the sequence combined practical stunts, digital effects, and physical comedy. The production built sections of the workshop ceiling that could actually be broken through by stunt performers in harnesses. The icing problem, where the suit freezes at high altitude, was a clever narrative device that felt scientifically plausible while also creating tension and humor. It showed Tony learning, failing, and improving, making him feel human even in a super suit. Behind all the creative decisions was an enormous financial risk that few people fully understood. Fact 71. To finance Iron Man and launch Marvel Studios as an independent production company, Marvel took out a massive $525 million loan, using the film rights to their entire catalog of characters as collateral. This meant that if Iron Man failed, Marvel would have lost not just money, but the rights to Captain America, Thor, Black Panther, Doctor Strange, and dozens of other characters. Everything was on the line. The entire future of Marvel Studios depended on audiences embracing a B-list superhero played by a risky casting choice. The pressure of that financial risk permeated every decision during production. Fact 72. Kevin Feige and the Marvel team knew they couldn't afford to play it safe, but they also couldn't afford to fail. This paradox actually worked in their favor. It forced them to be bold, to trust their instincts, to make the film they believed in rather than the film a committee might have designed. The unfinished script, the improvisational approach, the decision to cast Robert Downey Jr. All of these risks were taken because Marvel had already bet everything. They might as well bet on brilliance. The film's sound design created an audio landscape that was as important as the visuals. Fact 73. Sound designer Frank Ullner and his team spent months creating the sonic identity of Iron Man. Every mechanical movement had to sound powerful, but precise, technological, but not cold. The repulsor blasts needed to feel like concentrated energy, not just explosions. The suit's boot jets had to sound different from the hand repulsors. Even the sound of the faceplate closing, that distinctive mechanical click and hiss, was carefully crafted to feel satisfying and definitive. These sounds became so iconic that they would be used and referenced throughout the entire MCU. As the film neared its release, the marketing team faced an interesting challenge. Fact 74. How do you sell a superhero that most general audiences had never heard of? The marketing campaign focused heavily on Robert Downey Jr.'s charisma and the film's humor, positioning Iron Man as a different kind of superhero movie. Smarter, funnier, more grounded. Trailers emphasized the character over the costume, showing Tony Stark's wit and charm before revealing the spectacular action. This approach worked. Audiences came for the personality and stayed for the spectacle. And throughout all of this, the visual effects, breakthroughs, the intimate character moments, the test flight sequences, the enormous financial risk, the careful sound design, the strategic marketing, there was a singular truth emerging. Fact 75. Iron Man succeeded not because it had the biggest budget or the most famous character, but because everyone involved believed in the story they were telling. From Robert Downey Jr.'s commitment to the role, to Jon Favreau's directorial vision, to the visual effects artists rendering each frame, to the sound designers crafting each mechanical whir, everyone was working toward the same goal, making audiences believe that a man in a metal suit could be a hero, could be flawed, could be real. Tony Stark's iconic Malibu mansion became almost as famous as the character himself, a symbol of wealth, innovation, and California cool. Fact 76. The exterior of Tony Stark's clifftop mansion was actually a combination of real locations and digital effects. The production used a house in the Hollywood Hills as a base, then digitally placed it on the Malibu coastline with CGI to create the illusion of the dramatic oceanfront location. The interior, however, was built entirely on a soundstage in Los Angeles, allowing the production team complete control over the space. Production designer J. Michael Reva drew inspiration from modernist architecture, particularly the work of architect Wallace Cunningham, whose Razor House design influenced the mansion's sleek, geometric aesthetic. The relationship between director and star was crucial to the film's success, and it was built on mutual trust and respect. Fact 77. Jon Favreau had to fight Marvel Studios to cast Robert Downey Jr. in the lead role. The studio was hesitant, concerned about Downey's past struggles and whether he was insurable. But Favreau believed so deeply in Downey's ability to embody Tony Stark that he put his own reputation on the line, arguing passionately for the casting. This act of faith created a bond between director and actor that translated to the screen. Downey later said that Favreau's belief in him was transformative, and their collaborative relationship, built on improvisation, trust, and shared vision, became the creative engine that powered the film. The film carried deeper themes beneath its entertaining surface, particularly in its opening act. Fact 78. Iron Man was released in 2008 during the height of the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, and the film directly engaged with contemporary political realities. Tony Stark's capture by terrorists in Afghanistan, his realization that his weapons were being used to harm innocent people, and his decision to stop manufacturing arms. All of this resonated with ongoing debates about American military intervention and the military-industrial complex. The film didn't offer simple answers, but it asked important questions about responsibility, the consequences of our actions, and whether technology could be used for protection rather than destruction. When the film was released on DVD and Blu-ray in September 2008, fans discovered additional material that hadn't made the theatrical cut. Fact 79. The home video release included several deleted and extended scenes that provided additional character development and world building. These included extended conversations between Tony and Pepper, additional workshop scenes showing Tony's creative process, and alternate versions of key moments. While these scenes were interesting, their removal from the final cut demonstrated the careful editing process. Every scene had to earn its place, had to serve the story's momentum. Sometimes the best decision is knowing what to leave out. The film's color palette was carefully designed to reflect Tony's emotional journey. Fact 80. Cinematographer Matthew Libatique worked with colorist Stefan Sonnenfeld to create distinct visual tones for different parts of the story. The Afghanistan sequences were desaturated and harsh, all browns and grays, reflecting the brutality and bleakness of war. Tony's workshop glowed with warm oranges and golds, a creative sanctuary. The corporate world of Stark Industries was cool and blue, sterile and impersonal. And when Tony finally flew as Iron Man, the sky was vibrant and alive with color. This visual progression mirrored Tony's transformation from darkness to light, from destruction to creation. The film's success created unexpected opportunities for everyone involved. Fact 81. For Robert Downey Jr., Iron Man represented a complete career resurrection. He went from being considered uninsurable to becoming one of the highest-paid actors in Hollywood. For Jon Favreau, it established him as a director who could handle massive blockbusters while maintaining character and heart. For Marvel Studios, it proved their business model worked, and for audiences, it opened the door to a new kind of cinematic experience, one where films connected, where stories built on each other, where patience and planning could create something unprecedented. Behind the scenes, the production faced numerous technical challenges that required creative solutions. Fact 82. One of the biggest challenges was filming scenes where Tony interacted with the Iron Man helmet. The practical helmet was heavy and restrictive, making it difficult for Robert Downey Jr. to wear for extended periods. The solution was to create multiple versions, a lightweight version for long dialogue scenes, a fully functional version for close-ups, and a digital version for wide shots and action sequences. The seamless integration of these different versions required meticulous planning and coordination between the practical effects team, the visual effects team, and the actors. And as the film's cultural impact grew throughout 2008 and beyond, one thing became clear. Fact 83. Iron Man had fundamentally changed what audiences expected from superhero films. It proved that these movies could be smart and funny, that they could feature flawed, complex protagonists, that they could engage with real-world issues while still being entertaining. The film's influence extended beyond Marvel. It affected how other studios approached their superhero properties, how they thought about casting, how they balanced spectacle with character. In many ways, modern superhero cinema can be divided into two eras, before Iron Man and after. Every character in the film, no matter how small, was carefully cast to bring authenticity to the story. Fact 84. Farhan Tahir, who played Raza, the leader of the Ten Rings terrorist organization, brought gravitas and menace to the role. Tahir, a Pakistani-American actor with extensive theater experience, worked to make Raza feel like a real person with motivations, not just a one-dimensional villain. His performance in those opening cave scenes helped establish the stakes and danger that Tony Stark faced. Years later, Tahir would be asked to reprise the role for Marvel's Vision Quest series, showing how even seemingly minor characters in the MCU could have lasting impact. The action sequences required careful choreography and coordination between multiple departments. Fact 85. Stunt coordinator Thomas Robinson Harper and his team worked closely with the visual effects department to plan every action beat. They used wire work for scenes where characters were thrown or lifted, practical explosions for the Afghanistan sequences, and carefully choreographed fight scenes that would later be enhanced with digital effects. The goal was always to capture as much as possible practically, giving the visual effects artists real movement and physics to build upon, rather than creating everything from scratch. Tony Stark's iconic look became instantly recognizable, and it was carefully crafted. Fact 86. Robert Downey Jr.'s signature goatee and hairstyle as Tony Stark were meticulously designed by the hair and makeup team. The goatee was shaped to be sharp and precise, reflecting Tony's engineering mindset and attention to detail. Downey's hair was styled to look effortlessly cool, but not overly groomed, suggesting someone who cared about his appearance but didn't obsess over it. This look became so iconic that it influenced men's grooming trends, with barbershops around the world receiving requests for the Tony Stark beard style. When awards season arrived, Iron Man received recognition that validated its artistic achievements. Fact 87. Iron Man earned 2 Academy Award nominations at the 81st Academy Awards in 2009 for Best Sound Editing and Best Visual Effects. While it didn't win in either category, the nominations themselves were significant. They represented mainstream recognition that superhero films could achieve technical excellence worthy of Oscar consideration. The film also won numerous other awards, including several Visual Effects Society Awards and a Screen Actors Guild Award nomination for the stunt ensemble. The production faced its share of challenges and near disasters during filming. Fact 88. The tight shooting schedule and the improvisational approach meant that some days were chaotic, with scenes being rewritten on the fly and the crew scrambling to adjust. There were technical difficulties with the practical suits, weather delays during outdoor shoots, and the constant pressure of knowing that Marvel's entire future depended on getting everything right. But these challenges also created a sense of camaraderie among the cast and crew. They were all in it together, all working toward the same goal, all believing in something that didn't yet exist. The film's legacy extended far beyond its box office success. Fact 89. Iron Man fundamentally changed Robert Downey Jr.'s life and career trajectory. He went from being a talented but troubled actor to becoming the face of the most successful film franchise in history. The role gave him financial security, creative fulfillment, and a platform to influence popular culture. But more than that, it gave him a character that resonated with his own journey, a story of redemption, of second chances, of using your past mistakes to become something better. The relationship between Tony Stark and his technology was central to the film's themes. Fact 90. The arc reactor wasn't just a plot device. It was a metaphor for Tony's heart, both literally keeping him alive and symbolically representing his transformation. The glowing blue light in his chest was a constant reminder of his vulnerability and his strength, of the technology that saved him and the responsibility that came with it. This visual symbol became one of the most iconic images in superhero cinema, instantly recognizable and deeply meaningful. And as we reflect on all these elements, the casting choices, the stunt work, the iconic styling, the awards recognition, the production challenges, the career transformations, the symbolic depth, we see how they all wove together. Fact 91. Iron Man succeeded because it was more than the sum of its parts. Every department, every artist, every decision contributed to creating something that felt cohesive and complete. From the sound of the repulsors to the shape of Tony's goatee, from the color of the arc reactor to the improvised dialogue, everything worked in harmony to tell a story that audiences around the world embraced and believed in. Before Iron Man, the character was considered a long shot, a gamble that few believed would pay off. Fact 92. Kevin Feige later recalled that before the film's release, media outlets and industry insiders referred to Iron Man as a C-tier superhero, or even a B-list character at best. The conventional wisdom was that only the most famous superheroes, Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, could carry major films. Iron Man was seen as too obscure, too niche. But Feige and his team believed that with the right story and the right actor, any character could resonate. They were proven spectacularly right. Robert Downey Jr.'s initial compensation for the film reflected the risk Marvel was taking on him. Fact 93. For the first Iron Man film, Downey was paid just $500,000, a modest sum by Hollywood standards, especially for a lead role in a major studio film. But the deal included back-end points, meaning he would earn a percentage of the film's profits. When Iron Man became a massive hit, those back-end points became incredibly valuable. For Iron Man 2, his salary jumped to $10 million, and by the Avengers, he was earning $50 million. Over his entire MCU run, Downey would earn over $500 million, transforming that initial $500,000 gamble into one of the most lucrative acting deals in cinema history. The film's cultural impact extended far beyond the box office. Fact 94. Iron Man fundamentally transformed the superhero genre and became what many consider the most pivotal superhero film of its decade. It proved that superhero movies could be smart, funny, and character-driven, while still delivering spectacular action. It showed that audiences would embrace flawed, complex heroes who didn't fit the traditional mold. The phrase, "I am Iron Man," entered the cultural lexicon, becoming one of the most iconic lines in cinema. The film's influence rippled through popular culture, affecting everything from fashion to technology to how we think about heroism itself. Jon Favreau's decision to cast himself as Happy Hogan added a personal touch to the film. Fact 95. Happy Hogan, Tony's loyal bodyguard and driver, was described in the backstory as a former boxer who had worked for Tony for years. Favreau, who had experience with boxing scenes from his directorial debut film, made in 2001, brought authenticity to the character. Though Happy's role was small in the first film, just a few scenes driving Tony and providing quiet support, Favreau's warm, grounded performance made the character memorable. Happy would go on to appear in multiple MCU films, becoming a beloved supporting character and a connection to Tony's humanity. The film established a blueprint that Marvel Studios would follow for years to come. Fact 96. Iron Man's success validated Kevin Feige's vision for a shared cinematic universe where films would interconnect and build upon each other. The post-credits scene wasn't just a gimmick, it was a promise, a roadmap for the future. Marvel learned from Iron Man that audiences would reward patience, that they would invest in long-term storytelling, that they would stay through the credits if you gave them a reason. This approach would become the Marvel formula: strong character development, humor balanced with drama, interconnected storytelling, and always a tease of what's coming next. The film's themes of redemption and responsibility resonated deeply with audiences. Fact 97. Tony Stark's journey from selfish weapons manufacturer to selfless hero mirrored broader cultural conversations about corporate responsibility, the ethics of technology, and the possibility of personal transformation. The film asked, can someone who has caused harm become a force for good? Can technology that was designed to destroy be repurposed to protect? These weren't just abstract questions. They felt urgent and relevant in 2008, and they continue to resonate today. The success of Iron Man created opportunities that extended throughout Hollywood. Fact 98. The film proved that shared universes could work in cinema, inspiring other studios to attempt their own interconnected franchises. It showed that taking creative risks, unconventional casting, improvisational approaches, trusting directors with vision could pay enormous dividends. It demonstrated that superhero films could be both critically acclaimed and commercially successful, that they could appeal to both casual moviegoers and devoted fans. In many ways, Iron Man redefined what was possible in blockbuster filmmaking. And as the years passed, as the Marvel Cinematic Universe grew to include dozens of films and hundreds of characters, as it became the highest-grossing film franchise in history, one truth remained constant. Fact 99. It all started with Iron Man. Every Avenger, every Guardian of the Galaxy, every hero who would follow, they all owed their existence to the success of this one film. Without Iron Man's triumph in May 2008, there would be no MCU, no interconnected saga, no cultural phenomenon that would dominate cinema for over a decade. Everything that came after, the triumphs and the challenges, the beloved characters and the epic stories, all of it began in that cave with a man in a metal suit choosing to be better. And so, as we reach the end of this journey through the making of Iron Man, we return to where we began, to the idea of possibility, of transformation, of believing in something that doesn't yet exist. Fact 100. The greatest achievement of Iron Man wasn't its box office success or its technical innovations or even its launch of the MCU. It was the simple, powerful idea at its core that anyone can change, that our past doesn't define our future, that we can choose to use our gifts to make the world better. Tony Stark proved that a flawed, complicated, imperfect person could still be a hero. And in doing so, he gave us all permission to believe that we could be heroes too, in our own ways, in our own lives. And now, as the story comes to rest, as the arc reactor's glow fades to darkness, as Tony Stark's journey from that cave to the world stage settles into memory, let yourself drift. Let the weight of the day fall away. Let the story carry you gently into sleep, knowing that tomorrow, like Tony Stark, you too can choose to be better, to build something meaningful, to shine your own light into the world. Rest well.